4.5 hours after the race in Montreal, the FIA released a document announcing a €25,000 fine for Perez. Furthermore, the driver was handed a three-place grid penalty for the race in Spain. Perez had breached Article 26.10 of the sporting regulation, which says that a driver must leave the track in case of serious mechanical difficulty. On the surface, this looks like a normal penalty for a rule break, but when we dug deeper, we discovered something more sinister is at play. During the hearing, the governing body invited the driver and the team representative. Armed with TV camera footage, the team radio feed, and the onboard cameras, they quizzed Red Bull on why Perez was made to break the rules intentionally. Perez had an accident on lap 52. His car was badly damaged, and instead of calling for a full safety car deployment, the team ordered him to limp back to the garage. The question on everyone's lips is, why was Red Bull trying to avoid the safety car? The stewards cornered Red Bull with radio evidence, and the team had no choice than confess that Perez was following a team order. When did it become Red Bull's job to determine when a safety car should be called or not? Journalist Will Buxton, unhappy with the minimal punishment Red Bull got, analysed the event once more and concluded that what Red Bull just did is very similar to the greatest scandal the sport has ever witnessed. There is a dark reason why Red Bull didn't want that safety car, and that reason draws parallel to the infamous CrashGate that took place in the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix. To refresh your memory, in the 2008 Singapore race, Alonso, driving for Renault, started from 15th due to poor qualifying. 12 laps into the race, the Spaniard was called for refuelling and tyre change. 2 laps later, the team ordered Alonso's teammate Nelson Piquet Jr. to crash at turn 14. The team specifically chose turn 14 because they knew it must trigger a safety car deployment. The drivers ahead of Alonso saw a cheap stop and fell for the bait. Alonso, on fresher tyres, stayed out and won the race. Just like Flavio ordered Nelson Piquet to crash his car in 2008 to make Alonso win, Red Bull has also admitted that they ordered Perez back to the pits in order to guarantee Verstappen's win. The question is, why is Red Bull getting a €25,000 fine, while Renault got its team principal sacked and also lost a £40 million a year sponsor? All these will be addressed in this video. Welcome to Front Lockout. On lap 52 of the race in Canada, Perez spun in turn 6 and crashed backwards into the barrier, causing serious damage to the rear of his car. He was able to get the car going again and drove back to the pits with a hanging rear wing in tow. By doing this, he endangered his own life and that of the other drivers, as he wasn't driving at the pace of the others. As he drove back to the pits, several carbon fibre parts of his car fell on the track, and this could puncture someone else's tyre and jeopardise their race or even cause an accident. So why was Perez told to risk everybody's safety instead of just asking for a safety car? The stewards might have issued a fine, but they failed to uncover a bigger plot. The bigger picture of what was happening on track showed that Red Bull were up to something unfair. At the time Checo had the crash, there were still 18 more laps of racing. Verstappen was ahead of Norris but was being given a hot chase by the Brit, who was on fresher tyres. However, Red Bull didn't want to change the order of things, and they wanted the race to finish the way it was. A safety car would introduce too many variables they didn't want to deal with. In the event of a red flag, they will have to think about taking advantage of the cheap stop. If Verstappen is asked to pit and Norris didn't pit, they knew the RB will not be able to catch the McLaren. Gone are the days where Red Bull was finishing 20 seconds ahead of the others. It was in their interest that the race continues without the complications that a safety car would trigger. Following the whole incident, British journalist and presenter Will Buxton came hard on the team, inferring they had committed one of the worst crimes in the sport. Personally, I don't think the repercussions for the team are anywhere near enough. The team have admitted that they told Perez to knowingly break the rules and in so doing endanger other drivers so as to avoid a safety car which they knew could lose them the win. Reverse the outcome of the reasoning and you have a team telling a driver to break the rules to create a safety car to help them win. It's a few degrees of separation. One is a grid drop and a fine, the other is Singapore. Buxton, perhaps pressured by the governing body, if he still wanted to be a part of Drive to Survive, has gone back to delete the tweet. While his reasoning looked legit, others have argued that Buxton, who is Brit, is only angry that Verstappen won the race ahead of 3 British drivers. There has always been the talk that British journalists often support British drivers, and even Alonso admitted that unlike the British drivers, he often gets penalised more harshly. Helmut Marko defended his team and claimed they were not sure of the level of damage. After all, Hamilton once won a race with 3 wheels. However, the key difference is that Hamilton had a puncture, not a crash. We would like to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments. This is Front Lockout signing off.